get started, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to read our mission statement for us. I can see it here. WIBLA's mission is to provide an inspiring forum for women to explore and advance their creative development, to promote their work in the marketplace, and to infuse the community with their spirit of cooperation and invention. So, yay. We're going to move to Melissa and see. Do you see any new members here tonight, Melissa?
Well, I've been trying to go over and glance, but no, I don't see any. It's exciting. We already have 5 new members this month in May, and a new sponsor member, Beth. But I don't think I see him. We also may have a Right Space member jump on tonight as a guest. She saw some of our information in the Right Space, which is cool, and it intrigued her, and she may try and jump on the meeting tonight. Kristen Mitchner, if anyone sees that name pop up, we can stop and give her a shout out. So that's cool. A little, cross-pollinating with the Right Space, which is awesome, and intriguing them of some of the things that we've got going on. So, but other than that, just a reminder: update your profile on the website so people can know who you are, what you do, that kind of good stuff. And Susan, back to you.
All right. Well, what a good segue into our next announcement. We have an exciting announcement for WIVLA tonight, and that we have an agreement with Right Space to be artist in residence in their space in Sawyer Yards. In Sabine Street. So I'm just going to quickly go through a little PowerPoint here. If Melody, I'm going to share my screen. Melody, you're probably going to have to let me do that.
Well, I did, but are you not able to?
Here you go.
Okay.
I got it.
I thought maybe when you left and came back.
Sorry for my fuzzy face here. That's the only lighting that I can work with here. So,
You look very angelic, Susan, with a angelic glow about you.
Deceiving. All right, so we are excited to tell you guys that we are now artists in residence at Right Space. So what does that mean for all of us? Here's some of I'll just go
to the second email.
What? Oh, I thought I heard somebody. So what does this mean for all of us in WIVLA? And I've listed some of the benefits here. We are already using the Right Space one Sunday a month, and that will continue. We will also be every second Saturday, they have an open studio from 12 to 5. And so for the artists that are, and we'll talk about that in a minute, for the artists that are participating in to show their work, they will be able to promote WIVLA and their work through Second Saturday Traffic. And Right Space already has last Friday readings, and while these are happening in Sabine Gallery, WIVLA could host artist receptions in the Right Space studio. And another idea was that we could have ekphrastic writing sessions with the current WIVLA display. And you'll find out all about that in just a minute. We could have art openings scheduled around the Right Space program calendar. And we could host receptions whenever when we change out our work there. We could have reading. I mean, we want this not to be just for our visual artists, but it's definitely for our literary artists as well. So there'll be opportunities for you to hold readings and book launch celebrations. Of course, we have to schedule that around the Writespace calendar. So during the day, Writespace has little going on, and so we could use that for pretty much anything that we would want to during the day, write-ins and meetups and classes and whatever any of our members want to explore. And all potential uses would be staffed by WIVLA members and would be coordinated in advance to work around the Writespace program calendar. So let's move on. This is the space that we're talking about. This is the wall space. There's a west wall, an east wall, and a north wall. So you can kind of see the dimensions of the spaces that we're talking about. If you see this space, can you see my little cursor moving around here? Okay. Kind of see the space for art that would be available on each one of these walls. So let's talk about how this works. Each display would be, I need to move this over maybe a little, no, it's so fine. Each display would be for a 2-month-long period. Starting on the first day of the initial month. We'll talk about that in a minute too. And this is how we would be signing up. If you see this sign up genius over here, you'll see that there's a sign up for a slot for the west wall. And so there's going to be a sign up for each one of those walls. And we've also decided that for each slot, for each wall, we would have a waiting list, because sometimes things happen and people can't, for one reason or another, make arrangements to do this. So we would have a waiting list for each wall. So that's kind of how it works. We're going to have a sign up genius that's going to be distributed through our member page on our website. Correct, Melody? You want to talk a little bit more about the sign up genius for me?
Sure. So as she said, there's 3 slots for each one. And what we were envisioning, and let's just say we've got this agreement with Writespace, and we've been talking for years about having a space. Many of you remember that we sent out a survey about whether or not WIVLA should have our own space, and the results were overwhelmingly positive that we should. So this is sort of like a pilot. We're doing this for the remainder of the year with Writespace, and depending on how it goes, we may have a more permanent's not the right word, but right now we don't have our name on the door. We're not sharing the lease or anything like that. So they're letting us use their walls to show our art. And so we wanted to enable you to sign up. The test for this remainder of the year is you get a 2-month period. So this example right here shows that it starts July 1st and it would go for 2 months. And as it says here, you need to be down off the wall 3 days before the end of that 2nd month so that the next person could be set up and ready to go on the 1st. So we've got essentially 3 periods of time, 3 2-month periods of time for the remainder of the year. And like she said, sometimes stuff happens. So if you came to sign up, you wanted the west wall for the July-August period, but somebody had already signed up for it. You can say, well, I can sign up for, maybe I'll sign up for the last 2 months, but I can also sign up to be on the waiting list for this period. So this is really handy. As Susan was saying, if something happens to the person, stuff happens, right? Something happened to the person and she's not able to display in that first time period she signed up, we can then call that next person and say, hey, can you do it? And we're allowing 2 people to be on the waiting list because maybe that person can't. So we want to keep the walls, full if we can.
So this is going to be done on a first come, first serve basis. First 3 people to sign up, that's who's going to be participating for that 2-month period. And let me just go back to the diagram here for a minute. This space, this 14 by 6 and the 6 by 5 and 13 by 5, those are your spaces to put whatever, it's not juried in. Those are your spaces to use however you want to use them. So of course, there is a cost involved in this. And the member cost would be $75 for a 2-month time period, $150. There's also a $50 damage fee that would be refunded at the end of the time period. And all of this is going to be payable in advance. And I've just listed a couple of ways here that you can pay through credit card, but there will be a credit card fee for that. You can also pay through Zelle, and cash is also acceptable for payment. So our estimated start date is July 1st. And that time period would be July 1st through August 31st. We'll have the sign up Genius available sometime in June. And I know you probably got questions about this and how is it going to work. And so all of those questions and concerns should be directed to the gallery director, which is me for the time being. I will say that I am going to be looking to organize a committee to help me with this gallery this gallery opportunity. And because I live in Richmond, and so I can't be driving in constantly for things. And so I'm going to be looking for a committee to help me do this. If you would at all be interested in doing that, I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to put I've listed my contact information here, but I'm also going to put it in the chat. So I'm really excited about this. We've been working on this for a long time, as Melody said, and I hope you're excited about it as much as we are. So I'm going to stop sharing. And yes, Ellen.
You mentioned, and I think this is very exciting, wonderful news. And I'm always thinking of the literary part, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Rebecca or Gwendolyn yet to get their input on this. Is there any thought to teaming up in a literary fashion? I know you said they have some Friday night readings and some write-ins, which I have attended in the past, and were great fun. Is there any formal thought on that, or do we want to partner with them in any of our?
I think that's definitely a possibility. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to, how do I explain this? We're going to give some discounts. Like if we have an event and the right space people want to join into that, we'll give them discounts, vice versa. We're gonna have a collaborative thing going on with that. But what I would say to you, Ellen, is that if you have an idea of how to use this space, or if you see an event that Right Space is doing that you feel like we might want to collaborate with them, then let's talk about it.
And maybe I need to talk to Rebecca and Gwendolyn first, and I'm sorry for just popping this up out of nowhere.
No,
but talk to them and then bring it to the next board meeting if I have some concrete ideas.
yeah. I know there's probably a lot of questions from everybody, but we just wanted to go ahead and present this tonight so that you can be thinking about it, thinking about if this is something that you would like to participate in. Okay?
Are there any other groups we are?
No, we are we are the only one. Yeah.
And have we reached out to any other groups like Grackle and Grackle, since I know we've had some interactions with them?
Reached out in what way?
In the way we have reached out to Right Space to their space or partner or collaborate on ideas.
I don't know the answer to that question. Do you know anything, Melody or Brooke?
Well, we've used their space. I mean, we list them as a sponsor on our website because we have a very good relationship with Grackle and Grackle. But this now is also affording us a nice space to have workshops as well. So yeah, it's sort of formally informal with them.
I'll just chime in to say, Ellen, whatever ideas you have, I like your path of thinking about talking to Rebecca and Gwen, because that's the best way for us to consider new ideas and possibilities is during the board meetings and kind of capturing those, because I think this is one idea, like Melody and Susan have said, that took some years in the making. But then there are other ideas that have come up this year from board members that are getting implemented, and we can't get everything done super quickly. But I am really, really proud of how the board members are championing things and solving problems and getting things implemented. So it's a great idea to talk with the board members in those areas if you have an idea, and then we can take it from there.
I just had to say it before it floated out of my mind and I forgot it. So
Okay.
Understood, Ellen. You're in good company.
Yeah. And again, I want to express that this is for all of us. All right. It's for literary and visual. We want our literary, lovely people to be able to use this space as well. So be thinking about how you'd like to do that. We're going to need to move on at this point and talk about literary events coming up with Gwen and Rebecca.
The Journey into Hope competition, the entries have closed. The entrants should expect to hear back the first week of June. Our first critique group is also underway and also full. So anyone else who's interested in joining a critique group should reach out to get added to a potential second group. And I don't know if I should jump ahead to talk about the anthology or leave that.
I think Denise is going to do that. But yeah, we have exciting literary news that Denise is going to talk about.
Denise isn't here tonight, so
Oh,
go
she's
ahead.
not. Okay,
Yeah,
then I guess you need to. Yeah, then go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, so our anthology competition is open. The announcement went out. I'm sure everybody already saw it. So please do, submit work for that as much as possible on the theme. If you have any questions, just reach out. I think that's it.
And then one more announcement. We're going to be rolling out a WIVLA book club with a projected start date in August. And so more details will be coming in the next newsletter. We're really excited about it. It's going to be a monthly meetup. If you guys have book pick ideas, please send them to me. I'll have my email in the newsletter. We're going to be picking at least the first 6 months for the rest of the year. So if you have a book you're passionate about and you think it should be on that list, go ahead and send it to me and we'll try and make that happen. So more details to come in the newsletter.
Thank you, guys. Lots of good stuff happening in literary. Alyssa, anything you want to share with us about programs?
I will just take a moment and encourage everyone to check the calendar on the WIVLA website. As soon as I get anything nailed down, it immediately goes up on the WIVLA calendar. That's my first stop. And so we have all of our monthly member meetings populated for the rest of the year. And workshops and field trips are popping up. And our members are adding their events as well. And so strong recommendation to check out the calendar at wivla.org. A lot of that information shows up on the private Facebook group as well. But you can find it easily one way or another. And per usual, my usual plug, if anybody has an idea for a WIVLA program, feel free to drop me a line. I'll put my email in the chat.
Great. Okay, thank you. Shirley and Deborah, tell us what's going on with RISE and anything else.
Well, it's
Go
still
ahead,
open
Deborah.
for people to apply to be in the show. So we're encouraging everyone to get their work in because the due date is coming up quite quickly. I don't have it right in front of me. Do you, Shirley?
Yes, it's closes on June the 15th. And the show dates are July 17th to August 31st. So.
Okay. That sounds great. Denise is not here, so we'll just move on, and I think we're gonna just head on into our program now. So, Liz, would you like to introduce our speaker for us?
Yes, I'm happy to, and my video doesn't seem to be working, so I'll just have my voice. Lauren had a very lovely bio on the email that you all sent out. And rather than read that over, I'll just add a few small things. I've known Lauren for about 15 years. I guess I first knew her, and there she is with her beautiful daughter. I first knew her when she was the executive director at Bridget's Place, and she always brings the most creative and unusual kinds of activities to everything she does. If you are expecting one thing, you'll be delightfully surprised because it'll be better than you could possibly think. She is really a people person, and she also has a heart for the nonprofit arena and for helping people and making a huge difference. She enjoys building relationships and creating connections that benefit her clients. I just think that whatever she does it with the highest standards and with a great deal of integrity. And it's just my pleasure to introduce her to this group because I believe she has some things to offer us that would be helpful in monetizing our business and getting better known. So Laura, thanks for coming.
Hi, thank you. Well, that is very kind. I am really, truly honored to be asked to be here and excited to meet all of y'all. Liz is one of my favorite humans, so the fact that she speaks so highly of me is very honoring. So I am going to jump right in, and I may have an assistant through this process. So we will see how that goes. I am not super well versed in Zoom, so sorry, we use something else.
There's a green share button at the bottom of your screen.
Yes, I see that. So sorry. All right. We are going to be talking about plot twist and brushstrokes tonight. And I really like interaction and getting to know you as well as a presenter. So there's going to be some interactive moments, some sharing moments, and hopefully this will be fun and keep us engaged. So tonight we are going to be going over a couple of examples that I've recently come across, found interesting, wanted to get your ideas and feedback about. Looking at what is marketing, what are our goals of marketing, then some just some fun creative ideas for both visual and literary artists. That's a hard word to say. Literary artist. And then just talking a little bit about things that you've tried, some challenges that you find, and then just sharing some successes you've had. And hopefully this just generates some ideas. There is no presentation that can be completely comprehensive on marketing yourself to the world, but mostly just hoping that this will get you thinking and thinking outside the box, because that is one of my favorite things to do. So we are going to watch 2 commercials, and the first, and then like after one plays, we'll have a little bit of discussion, and then we'll play the other one. So please watch.
For the first time ever, we've completely reimagined the automobile. Introducing the men's only Ford Explorer. With no windshield wipers, no heater, no turn signals. Wait, no rear view mirror? No GPS, are you kidding? Ah, it's missing all the parts created by women. Wow. Whose great idea was that? This Women's History Month, Ford salutes the visionary automotive work by women past, present, and future.
Let's talk about, let's talk about observations from this video. I really loved this commercial. I just think it's amazing. So what do y'all see as like the pain point? What's the problem that they're trying to address? Who's their target audience? Just kind of tell me about how you received this and what you thought.
It made me curious when it said for men only. And then it started to say what this thing was doing without. And it wasn't towards the end that I recognized that's because women are the ones who invented those things. So I thought it was very, very clever. So it was made me curious, and it made me want to know what is this? And then the voiceover that talked about like, whose idea was this kind of thing. It was good.
Was there, what were the points of connection for y'all? Like, when did you, maybe like you said, you kind of towards the end, but were there things that like it just automatically brought up a feeling, questions in your mind? Kind of how did you just see it?
I'll admit, when they first started talking about the things that the car was missing, I was not too worried. Like, oh, okay, fine. But as the list went on, I grew concerned. And shameful to admit, I had no idea all of those things were invented by women. So how lovely to be educated by a car commercial.
I initially thought that all those things were being left out because manly men didn't need, those kind of things. And it was really fun to find out the real reason. So it made the commercial fun to watch.
Initially, I was kind of ticked that it said for men only. And I'm like, what the heck? What are they talking about? So, that got my attention first to see the little sign that said for men only.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous a little bit in terms of timing because you might check out, but before you could do that, you were checking back in. And they also, I think, used some music in the background that made you know that something was coming in a way, a turn.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's some risk involved in this marketing ploy, right? Which I think can be really hard, especially when we're talking about putting out work that's very personal. You know, how do we embrace risk? How do we kind of think about that, and, you know, risk versus reward? So I just, you know, I would love to have known who was sitting around in the boardroom saying, let's try this idea. You know, that's where my mind went. Like, what, you know, A, who came up with that? B, like, you know, was this all women talking about this? Was this, you know, I mean, I just really, I had so many questions, right? But I do think it's cool that they chose a specific target audience, right? And they went all in for it. And I thought that was a really, really cool point that they made. All right, we're going to watch the next one. Thank you for contributing.
I was working across several different groups. You know what? Let me practice that one again.
Okay, when you're ready, tell me about the job that taught you the most.
Okay. Well, it was a role where I learned to take constructive criticism.
I think she like, oh, nope, doesn't like it.
Okay. I got pretty used to, you know, working long hours with a small team. I got very comfortable multitasking. Yep. And I had to become really organized.
Not bad, but try rephrasing your answer to sound more confident.
Right. Okay. I was asked to make a lot of quick decisions and do a lot of negotiating. One more book.
Truly.
Talk about your experiences working with others.
Oh, well, I'm at my best when I'm collaborating. If it's for the team, I'll do whatever it takes.
This job description you shared mentions on-the-job training.
Well, I am a fast learner. I don't always have all the answers, but I get the job done. No matter how long it takes. And I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. But most importantly, I show up every day, no matter what.
All right, last question. When it comes to work, what motivates you?
I guess knowing that people can depend on me. And knowing I can depend on them too.
That's a great answer. Sounds like you're ready.
Hey, James, thanks for joining us.
It's good to see you all. I've been looking forward to talking.
So very similar questions for this. What did you notice? Who was the target audience? How are we connecting, etc.?
I thought it was a really powerful message, just all the in comparing the whole stay-at-home child rearing to very specific job qualifications. I thought it was just a great spin on that. It tugs at the heartstrings, so there's that that emotional connection with it as well. Yeah, I just thought it was a really clever and sentimental and great just praise basically for what's typically a woman's role.
I thought the music was really powerful, and the whole idea of bringing a family photo album to life as the job description or the job. It was just a great combination of something that's very dry and a resume, and then illuminating it as a family album with that music was really powerful.
And part of what I wanted to know from those of you who did watch it was, does it make you think about Google differently? Do you, just like, what is it? Does it make you want to buy a Google phone? Like,
I think it's also, well, it was using the AI technology to help the person, prep for their interview. So it's definitely selling the technology. as a way to, like support you in whatever you're trying to do. So I might be more curious about checking out the phone just to see what I'm able to do with it. So that's kind of what I got on there.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. I really honestly hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, because it made it seem like but it could apply to anybody, right? It's not just not a techie tool.
Right. Right. And I loved what Glenn was saying about sort of this meshing of things, and thinking about how do we like creatively present what we do or what we're producing or, the things that we want to put out into the world, right? Like, how do we kind of get outside the box and think, oh yes, this translates in this way. Or, I can make this connection here.
To me, it was very much a contrast between that technology and the human connection. And if you weren't watching the images, you would not have known what it was really contrasting.
Right. Okay, so let's move on. We will go to slide number 7. And I was looking for a creative definition of marketing, and I really enjoyed this one. Marketing is the imaginative art of matchmaking between brilliant ideas and the people who never knew they needed them, using equal parts storytelling, curiosity, sparkling confetti, and strategic breadcrumb trails that lead straight to take my money. So I would love to I'm gonna let y'all read it again to yourselves, but I would love to hear kind of what stands out for you in this definition, maybe something that is new for you in this definition. Just any kind of feedback that you want to give about it.
To me, I feel like the storytelling is such an integral part, and that's sort of what talked, to me when I saw the other piece, is trying to connect that story to other people.
To me, on that definition, sparkling confetti really stood out as like how to sprinkle the magic to elevate it into something sparkly, which is interesting.
Yeah, so I love that feedback about the storytelling. I am a diehard fan of confetti and sparkling things, so that definitely spoke to me. But one of the things that I really want to pull out in this definition is that is that this connection between a brilliant idea and the people who never knew that they needed it, right? And so one of the things that I think is really central to marketing is finding a need, defining a need that is present in the world. And how is your work going to meet that need, right? And hopefully in an unexpected way, right? Like that people will walk by your painting or they'll read your story and say, oh, wow, that spoke to me in a way that I didn't know I needed today, right? Like, wow, that's really profound. And so, or just, thinking about this intention behind your work as far as, what are you putting into it that you want people to get out of it, right? So this is a fun definition. There's a million definitions of marketing, but I really liked this one. So if we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to just take a minute and say what marketing is not. It's not just advertising. So a lot of people think, oh, well, I throw an ad in this magazine or I have a billboard or whatever. That is not the sum total of marketing, and it's not really even the point of marketing. It is part of marketing, but marketing really is to tell a whole story, right? And to connect with an audience. So it's also not instant magic. Okay, so what I do every day is work on public relations for our clients. And it is a long, long process of building relationships and, just trying to really get that message out in a lot of different ways. So it's not repeating the same message, right? And there might be things that are the same in the essence or the same concepts, but you're trying to figure out a different way, a unique way to get that message across. Definitely not manipulation or tricks. That is the fastest way to lose an audience or a client or a friend, any of those things, right? And not just pretty packaging. So, you know, I'll give you an example. Like I started a business, or I tried to start a business once, designing sacred spaces. And everything, I mean, I love aesthetics, right? And so everything I did was beautiful. Like the website was beautiful and the flyers were beautiful and like everything was beautiful, right? But I wasn't really in touch with, was there a need for what I was producing or giving, you know, and also like who my target audience was. I didn't understand the full package of marketing a business and that sort of thing. So those are just some things to keep in mind, especially the instant magic, right? This is a long and arduous process. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I would love for you all to share with me a little bit and with the group, what are you, when you think about marketing, what are your goals? What are the things that you're trying to accomplish?
Well, heck, okay. Just to even let people know I exist. Just face, face, and then show them how to get to me. Yeah.
Increasing awareness.
Oh yeah. I was going to say the same thing. I write books, so it's like I want to get readers, you know, to know my books are out there.
Yeah, visibility in front of enough people to find the right people that are attracted to what I do or that we have a good fit.
Okay, and I'm assuming too that there's also a goal for someone buying your work, right? Or being paid to write an article or those sorts of things too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide, please. So back to this concept that marketing is a process. It's a full-bodied thing that's happening in many different ways at many different times, right? Like it's not a linear journey necessarily. So even though I put these things out here on the screen as kind of in a linear pattern, so that's somehow the way my brain thinks. All these things can be kind of going on at the same time in different ways, right? I mean, you might start building a relationship before you identify a need, right? You might start thinking about your messaging before you actually create any kind of work of art. So, but I do want to go back and just talk about like, what is it that your art is helping someone with, you know, is that, where is the need? And that doesn't necessarily mean that like the piece of painting has to be addressed to that particular need. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about, right? Or that the poem is talking about a particular need. But for example, I think that many of us, myself included, are feeling kind of disenfranchised right now in the world, you know, and there's a lot of things going on, right? There, or overwhelmed. We have a lot of stuff coming at us at all times right now. And so I just think that looking at that and saying, okay, how is what I'm doing, how does it respond to that need that's in the world, right? How does it respond to the feeling maybe of loneliness, or how does it respond to the feeling of overwhelm, or you know, how can what I'm doing really give this to the person that needs it? So I just kind of wanted to give you these things to think about, right? Because I think I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I get stuck in one or two of these things and don't think about kind of the whole thing, the whole spectrum of things that need to happen for, a good marketing plan to go into place, right? So just kind of giving these ideas. I think another one that's really, really important is knowing and identifying where your audience is, and going there, right? So whether that's online or that's in a physical space, trying to really figure out who it is that you're trying to connect with and where do they hang out? How can they, like you said, become aware of you? Where are they going to bump into you? Where are they going to run into you, right? And so, sometimes, I don't know, for me, I've noticed that, sometimes that means we have to do things that aren't really like our natural go-to favorite things to do, right? Like maybe not networking or, or putting ourselves out there in certain different ways. But it's really important, I think, to know and do some investigation about where your audience is and how to get there. So I also want to just talk about the fact that every time that you come in contact with a client or, someone who may purchase your art or even just someone who is going to enjoy your art, that you want them to have a great experience, right? You want them to have a great experience with your product and with your brand, and just try to think about that throughout the whole process, right? If you have a social media account, if you have a newsletter, if you have all sorts of things, like how can every touch point that you have along the continuum with them be a meaningful experience, a meaningful connection? And then, I think this one can be really, really hard. But this idea about being clear about your response, like what you want your response to be, what's the action point that you want that person to take? Is it sharing this story online? Is it buying something? What is the action that you're asking them to do? And then of course, this goes into the whole like building connections. Just this idea that it's really, really, it's about making a connection on many different levels. Okay, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to just give you a couple of really creative and interesting ideas that maybe you thought about, maybe you've tried, but I thought were really cool. And so this idea of, for the literary folks in the group, this idea of like a literary scavenger hunt, I thought this was really fun. You can hide or like put signed books or quotes or even QR codes in different spots, and have share clues on your social media or in your e-newsletters, and encourage your friends, your followers to go find these things, right? Like just make it a very interactive experience. And so I just thought, I don't know, I thought that was really cool. I thought, wow, this would be an interesting thing to try on social media. I have never personally tried this, so I can't vouch for it. But I was thinking, I was like, wow, that, like if an author I follow did that, I would be so excited. I'd be out there like, okay, I'm gonna go find these little things. And like, wouldn't it be neat if it was like, little personal notes that the author wrote to the person that finds it, and you're the only person that has that little note. Like, that's just, to me, that's just such a great idea. It creates this memorable experience for people, and also I think for all of us, we want to feel like we're friends with the people, the artists that inform our lives, right? So for me, like almost every single piece of art in my home, visual art, is made by a friend or someone that I know, someone that I have a personal connection with. And I try to buy them before they get too expensive, that I can't buy them. But so that connection point is just really, really important. And then I also really liked this idea of a poem prescription booth. So like if you're at a festival or a reading, or you could even like do a party like at your house and just do like a little fun version of this. But improvising a short poem based on a prompt that someone gives you, I thought that was really cool. Now, I don't know if I could be that awesome and do a short poem that fast. It might be really short, haiku style, but I just thought that this was, really a fun idea. And it could be something that if you had somebody working with you, an assistant or, just a friend or something, that they could like film, take a little video of the person getting their poem, reading their poem. So I just thought that that was just really, really fun. And again, we're making that human connection, something they get to keep, right? Like, so one of the best ways of advertising, right, is when someone displays something in their home and then your 25 friends come over and they like it, at Christmas time, and, oh, where did you get that? Or what is that? Tell me more about this. So it's a whole nother way to reach a whole set of people that you're not ever going to see, right? So I just think that's really fun. Or even like, if you have friends that throw dinner parties or something, I'm a big dinner party girl. You could do like a little short haiku or something, and that could be on each one of the little place settings with your name and your website and that kind of stuff, just to get people kind of connected to you. So, and that's something that you can ask your friends to do. It doesn't take any money. It's not a big, it's not a big commitment, but might be really fun and might have some, it also gives them something to talk about. All right, next slide. So for my visual artist, who I am by the way in the awe of, because I am not one yet. So I love this idea of like doing a little art drop. And so, if you do collect phone numbers at a show or through your newsletter or however you might get these numbers, and then text them this like specific link saying, for 24 hours, these will be available. They're originals. That's all, that's all that there are. And, good luck. um, so I like that. I don't know about y'all, but text message is absolutely the best way to get a hold of me. So that's something that is very, I think, it's a good communication. It's instant. It's not a whole conversation, you don't have to do a whole paragraph. It's just, hey, this is happening. And so, come join us. And so I really like this, and always, this idea that, oh, I might miss out, right? Like the fear of missing out, like we're human, and that's a big thing. So, oh my gosh, Liz is putting up some cool art that nobody else is going to get. So I should probably, check that out. And then I loved this idea. I have absolutely no idea what is involved in it. But this idea of like, but now that y'all have a space, maybe you could do this. This pop-up projection. And so like you can loop animated versions of your paintings, or I think it would even be really cool with poetry, like poetry on the side of a building. You can maybe like work with, there's so many small businesses, right, that have blank walls and that kind of stuff, that they might be really, really excited to do something like this. So I just thought that was such a unique and interesting idea. And how cool that you would just get this really broad audience, right? Like depending on where you were or where you are, just I think that could be really cool. And how about like, if there's a festival, or like maybe I know like Sabine's Reason, they do all those like open house things on Saturdays. And so I just think this is a really cool idea that really could be for both visual and literary artists. And I want to do it for fun, because I just think it's such a good idea. And by the way, these are not my ideas, okay? Like I just did research. So please don't think I'm this cool because I'm not. Okay, so next slide. All right. So this was kind of a thing that both would work for both, maybe. Posting the opening sentence of a brush or stroke or canvas and invite your followers or your audience, or if you're at an event, you could even do it as a live interaction event, and then ask them to like kind of come in and help with the painting or the poem or the story, you know, almost kind of like Mad Libs, right? Like way back in the day, we did Mad Libs, right? But that I just thought that was a really interesting idea. And it could be, you know, just something that you try, or like, you know, if y'all are having one of these events, you know, it's like a community art project. See what happens, you know, it could be really cool. So, but you could also do it on social media, you know, or if you have like a newsletter or something, especially for like literary folks, you could ask people to send in, you know, sentences, and then maybe you could put it in the next newsletter. And then I love the idea of desk and easel tours. I'm sure that y'all have seen quite a few of these. I don't know if you've done any of them, but just pairing with another creator and basically taking over their social media, or being a guest. You could be a guest on their blog, or a guest, you know, person in the newsletter, and just kind of sharing about your space and who you are. And I threw in this idea of like putting a hidden object somewhere and trying to get people to find it. And then like whoever the first person is that sends you an email and they found it, they get a prize, you know? So I just thought that that was kind of a really fun idea. Again, kind of just going back to ways to engage your audience, to have connection, and you know, to have some fun too, right? Like our world is very serious. So I think that we really need to look for some creative ways to have fun in this next 4 years. So okay, next slide. Okay, so now I want to hear from you. I did a lot of talking. I would love to know which one of these jumped out at you, if any, if you would like to try them, what ideas they spurred for you.
I work at the Jung Center down in the Museum District, and I find myself pondering what a projection on the side of our building would look like. That'll be fun to think about.
I love that.
I love the ideas. I've had this idea lately of holding a poetry karaoke as a way to. So I was watching this competition with these high school students, and they're competing. They're reading other people's poems, and they practice and they do all of this, and they, you know, it's like the spelling bee for poetry. And I thought, isn't that a great idea? Like, because not everybody wants to read their own work, or they're not a writer, but they'd love to have some fun and just get up and read maybe their favorite poem or something like that. But it could be around, you could have your book for sale, or you could, have some other things that you're doing along with that. But I just had that idea. But I love these too. This is good. Thank you.
I love that. And I'd love to see it, like if you partnered up with another poet and y'all traded and you read the other person's work. That could be really powerful too.
That could be good too. We could read each other's work. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the poetry karaoke idea. Another thing that it doesn't pertain to me, but for the poets in WIVLA, I love the idea of the spontaneous poetry. When I was in Austin for the Texas Book Festival years ago, they had a typewriter rodeo group doing the spontaneous poetry. The line was literally around the corner, and I got one done too, and it was so awesome. You give them your theme, just one word, and then they write this amazing poem right on the spot, and you get it. And that could be really fun for the poets of WIFLA if they wanted to try it, like no pressure, just maybe we get some typewriters and set it up at a WIFLA event and they could just give it a go. I mean, if I had enough wine, I might sit down and try and write one too, but I'm not technically a poet. It could be fun. So yeah, that's awesome.
And I think you could even do that as a virtual event too. Like if you wanted to try it, that might be another way to get people, that might not want to physically come to something or,
right.
Want to stay in their pajamas.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anything else? All right, we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to just chat with y'all a little bit about barriers to creative marketing, and how to overcome those barriers, right? So I talked about resource. I put the first one as resources, right, which is AKA money. So I'm an artist and I don't make a ton of money. So how am I supposed to do all this marketing and all that kind of stuff? Or maybe you do and you've arrived. So good for you. But that being said, like thinking about how to partner with other creatives, like we said, doing this thing where you kind of like swap profiles for a day or just, talking to creatives and saying, okay, you have this event going on. How can I add to it? Is there any way that I could be a part of it? How can we partner? How can we make it good? And then trade partnerships. This is another one that I think we do have a pretty cool arts community here in Houston to say, hey, how can I do a trade with you for certain things? Or if you know somebody that does graphic design and you need graphic design done, what could I do for you? Or, just kind of trying to think outside the box. And I would love to know if y'all have other ideas too for overcoming financial constraints, or resources. Could be time. It can be a lot of things, right? Space, not having a space to show your work. Although that's not so much a problem for you now. Has anybody like found some things that really work for them?
I'll jump in there. I find it's a lot easier to promote somebody else than it is myself. And so to be able to team up with other people and go to either art openings or galleries and then introduce them as the artist and then, like take turns. I think it's easier. Like it's easier to write an artist statement for somebody else than it is for myself. So I like this, partnering up idea.
Okay. So another one I was thinking about was just technical constraints, right? Like, so what if I don't have a great social media presence, or, what if I don't know how to download X, Y, and Z, all these kind of things, right? I'm sure that y'all are all very aware of YouTube and the many treasures that are YouTube. But they have just about a class for everything on there. So if you're really stuck at something and you want to learn, you want to grow, do that, then that's a really great resource. And then I was also thinking about, like, a lot of times I think we forget, especially as women, like how much knowledge we really have, and how much our experience can bring to other people's lives, right? And so I was just thinking about, like, could you find someone that's younger or even a professional, and talk to them and say, hey, these are my skills. Is there any way that I can, help you, coach you in something in this arena, and you can help me with, some technical things that I don't know how to do or that I'm trying to learn how to do. So that was just, something to think about. There's always, hiring someone is always an option. And if you're not familiar with Fiverr's a pretty good resource for small budget type marketing kind of things, where you can get people to help you with all kinds of things, honestly. So if you said I wanted to do a social media campaign over the summer and this is what I want to build out, like, help find someone to help you build that out if that's not your forte. Um, any other ideas around technical constraints or anything anyone wants to say on that one?
I was going to mention that I think it's important to not be too worried about who you're reaching out to. Look at people that you admire and want to work with. I had an experience a few years ago. I reached out to actually outside the box, kind of a pathologist at Johns Hopkins, because I really enjoyed his photography that he had done of these cellular diseases. And I thought, well, really can't reach out to him. He's doing his thing. And in the end, we did a collaboration, which was in the performing arts I created these dresses, ended up in the medical museum and so forth. But it was something that had I not reached out to him, it would not have come to fruition if I had kind of kept myself in my own silo, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that, Sheree. That is amazing. Good for you. I do that all the time to random people, and sometimes they give me responses and sometimes they don't. But I think that's really a great thing. And especially, we all want to feel like we're appreciated for what we're bringing to the world. And so one of my main, ways that I do that is I really try to find something that I admire, like you said, or appreciate, or want to emulate, and reach out and say, oh my gosh, wow, I just loved this. Or, my job, it's trying to connect with these media people that get hit 20 million emails a day, and so how do I have something creative that jumps off the subject line, and it's like a lot of times it's like, oh my God, I loved your hair, or, those shoes you wore on that episode were just killer. I need those, just what are the ways that you can connect with people? And it doesn't have to be, even like you said, even necessarily related to your art or what you're doing. Just making that human connection is so powerful. I love that. That is a brilliant nugget.
I would say that my constraints would be solitary, and that writing, I find myself in such a solitary way writing. I am in a very supportive writing group, and of course I'm participating in WIVLA, but I think the constraints are for me to build the relationships. I mean, how to get over this constraint is to build relationship, and as you said, try to nurture, hang out more with the theater people. I was doing that years ago, but I've really backed off. I go to certain theaters, but I could certainly be going to more and hanging out with more, and of course meeting all the other various artists that have to do with any production. And I could see where that is my constraint. It's something I'm making myself too solitary.
That's great, Kate. Thank you for sharing. I love that. And I think, we've all kind of had to like readjust our presence in the world, right? After COVID. I mean, things changed so much and we kind of got used to things in a certain way. And now we're trying to get back into, the world really. And for me, it's, wow, I'm just exhausted and I just don't want to, I just don't want to go. Like I have a 6-year-old and a full-time job and a husband and a dog. And like, I just, no, thank you. But, but the thing is that that's what we need to do, right? Like we have to show up, and it can be in, small ways and big ways. I also think, I just want to encourage, all the women in the group that are over 40 that, I think that there are a lot of young women looking for mentors, looking for, honestly, just looking for a cheerleader, because life is just really freaking hard sometimes. And so, I just noticed when I'm out and about, so my like special passion is, encouraging moms. And, so I just noticed that like when I open myself up to that and I'm at a restaurant, and I put my phone down or I put my book down or whatever, like these people sort of just tend to kind of come into my universe, my orbit, and so I just encourage you to do that. Like it doesn't have to be like this big thing, but it could just be a, hey, who's at Starbucks or who's at whatever coffee shop we're going to, and just striking up a conversation. One thing I love about Houston is that most people are willing to talk to you. And that is truly a unique thing to this city. And so take advantage of that. I lived in the Northeast for 3 years and no one wanted to talk to me ever. And so, that's people don't think it's weird if you just start talking to them on the elevator here, but they really did on the subway. So just, really kind of keep your eyes open, keep your ears open to those opportunities. I love that. Then also wanted to talk about this audience misalignment. I think I touched on this a little bit before, but the more and more that I have kind of gotten into the PR world, the marketing world, like just, and I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but just realizing that you really can't reach everyone all the time. I think a lot of times we want to do that, or at least I do. That's been a struggle for me. So I'm a writer, and I love to write. And so, there was a point in my life where I was trying to like write these things that would just like, illuminate the spirit of everyone in the world, which is what you think you can do when you're 20. And I will say the Lord has refined me a lot. And now I realize, there are certain things that I know about, and there are a lot of things I don't. So I'm going to stick to the things that I know about, right? The things that I've experienced, the things that I can speak to. So really trying to identify that, right? Like who is it that you're trying to reach? Who do you think is going to connect with you? And that, there's always exceptions to those rules, but I think that just having that in mind helps you have a plan, right? It helps you have a place to start from. And then once you kind of get that, you can go out. But also, on the other turn of that is trying out different audiences and trying out different strategies with those different audiences, right? Not completely like limiting yourself and putting yourself in a box necessarily. But I always say, like, I want my daughter to be raised in the faith so that she has something to stand on and stand from. But then she can go out into the world and like see for herself, right? And I feel like that's kind of the same thing when we're talking about marketing. Like, what are you standing on? Like, what's kind of your pillar or your 3 pillars, your whatever that you're standing on? And then how are you going to branch out from that, right? How do you create yourself a foundation? Anyone else have any barriers that they want to talk about, or talk about how maybe they've overcome certain things that were challenging?
I would like to make a comment about doing your own personal research. Like, I write it, I'm a playwright and a monologuist. And I write a type of thing, you might say, and it's very helpful to me to reach out to those organizations who put out a resource handbook. And most of those are digital now. They used to come in the mail, I'd send away for them. But it's good to know your milieu and to look toward those organizations that are going to have maybe some resources for you. If nothing else, just to describe what theaters are taking certain types of work in my instance. So I do think, again, it's a little bit of solitary behavior on my part, but I look for those places that'll have resources that I can get into.
That's great. Anyone else? All right, moving on to our next slide. So we talked about constraints, we talked about barriers. I would love for you to share with us things that have worked for you. And maybe as a group, we'll learn something new for ourselves, but also we might be able to build upon that idea and say, oh, have you thought about adding this to it? So I would love to hear some of your successes. Don't everybody speak at once.
Well, I guess I'm launching a book right now, actually, and I do want to shout out Melody because she's volunteered her studio for this Saturday for me to have my launch event, my launch party. So that goes to a collaboration that I think is really, it's a good way. It's also a good way maybe for people to see her work as well, that are kind of in my network now. They'll come in there and see what's going on at her studio and in Silver Street. So I think that's going to be success.
I love that. What's your book about?
It's a hybrid poetry and creative nonfiction.
Oh,
book.
cool.
So it's more personal, I guess, but yeah,
Yeah,
speaks
that's
to
what I like to
women.
write too. I like to write creative nonfiction.
Okay.
I could share a marketing success. Was with my second book. It was a thriller about the world's first tarot cards. And out of all my books, that was the easiest to market.
Huh.
And when you're looking for marketing, you're trying to go to places that you usually wouldn't go to. It's not because there's a glut. So there's a big glut where everybody's going to this space and you want to find alternate spaces and like where can you find the people that want to know about it? So for that, we did a huge outreach to all the tarot influencers and people that weren't in the book world, but we were outreaching to them with the book. And I think that really helped it be a success. So it's like, my advice on that would be to look at what you're doing and how you can get out of the space that everyone's going to anyway. Be it for art, be it for a book, get out of the art space, get out of the book space, and go to something alternative that no one else is going to, and then that's just going to help grow the garden. So
That is a great suggestion. I love that. Recently, one of my coworkers pitched the Das Barbecue. We used to work with Stages, but they're not working with us anymore. But before they left, she pitched this Das Barbecue article to a food critic, and it wasn't a theater theme, but it was a food critic who loved barbecue, and he took it and is writing this article. So I love that, just finding those parallel or those meeting points, that really makes sense, and definitely getting outside of your normal communities or that sort of thing. It's a great story. I love that. And tell me again, the book was about what now?
it's called The Fortune Teller, and it's a thriller about the world's first tarot cards.
Interesting. That is really cool. I want to read that. Anyone else have some? Wow, I did a great job. I knocked this one out of the park. Stories.
I find that people like free stuff. I did a demo a couple of weeks ago in an art gallery that's representing me down in Galveston. And the demo was such that I could ask people to participate in it and do it with me. And when they would do that, then I would just say, "This is yours. You can have it. I'm going to sign this, and you can take it home with you." And I have no idea how that's going to work out. But they have a piece of my art. They have my name. They know how to contact me. And the other thing that I like to do is when somebody buys one of my paintings, I send them an original note card as a thank you that has a piece of my art on it. So, I don't know how that's going to work out, but at least I'm getting my name out there. They know what my art is. They know what I'm doing. If they want to contact me, then they've got my information.
I'll add to that. Back to the fortune teller, I actually did painted tarot cards in watercolor, and then I printed them at Vistaprint, and I had my website, and I handed those out at book events, and everybody was so excited to get a watercolor from me to go with the book. So it's like, even if you're literary, you could try and think of some kind of creative something to give away, because the giveaway is really powerful. It's like whether or not they bought the book, they're going home with this little print card you did, and that's special too. So I'm a firm believer too in giveaways. I think they're really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And also speaking to the idea of collaborating, I know like I have a friend who ended up doing the artwork for an author for her book, right? So that might be another, way to collaborate even within this group, right? Like how can I use your artwork in what I'm doing? So that, that's kind of cool. Or if you're writing an article for a magazine or poetry, or I mean, all the different things. I don't know all the things that y'all do, but cross-pollinating basically. And I love free stuff, so yeah. Especially if it's art related. So any other great successes you want to share? Okay, well, let's go to our next slide. So here's the fun part. If you have any questions that I can attempt to answer, now's your chance.
If you're going to pick one platform for a visual artist, a social media platform, what would you suggest?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, it was originally created for that purpose. It is kind of moving back to that purpose. However, it really is focused now on video. So you have to be decent at video content. It's not just like still images don't really work very well. But I think that's also somewhat dependent on your audience. Thinking about, who do you connect with the most? Who are your customers the most, right? So, I mean, TikTok is huge too. We don't do TikTok at our agency very much. Sometimes we do, but that, I mean, I think that is a very powerful tool for creating community and creating relationships and creating connection. That can truly be done on any of the platforms, but people go to TikTok for that, right? They go to watch a video, they go to see, the funny cat jumping around or, whatever it is. But that, I do think that that's a place where people are really looking for that. They're also kind of looking for an escape, I think, in that platform. And so, depending on what you're offering, you can kind of think of it from that perspective of like, would people want to go into this world that I'm creating to get away from their own? And we all have to, we all do that at some level. So I think that's that. I would say that I think probably the easiest to navigate and the most ROI is going to be Instagram. But again, it kind of goes back to what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish, right?
So, Lauren, I have a studio in Sawyer Yards, Silver Street, and each of the buildings has an artist who's assuming a marketing role, and it seems like at least the one in my building is really consumed with number of followers, shares, likes, and she's been boosting a couple $100 a pop. And yet, and I ask every single person who darkens my door, what brought them there? How'd they hear about us? Sometimes a friend brought them or what have you. I've had exactly one person say they saw us on Instagram.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea what the conversion rate is on yeah, and I'm a visual artist,
Mhm.
but it seems like it's just like I don't know if I really get very much or not. I know that when people come into my studio, they a lot of them will follow me on Instagram. I've got a QR code, but I don't know if it brings them back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think that, social media can only do so much, right? And we're not to the level of Ford. That's I picked a pretty big, company to start out with. But what I would say that behind that is, so first of all, the algorithm is a little bit crazy right now. And so if you are trying to push yourself out on social media, I do encourage you to do boosted post. Unfortunately, they are the ones that are getting most traction. And that's probably because Instagram and Meta want to make money. But that's just part of playing the game, right? So I would say, like, do consider that, and maybe do like an A/B test, where you do one without and you do one with, and see how it performs, see what interactions you get. But I think as far as like drawing people into your space, to me, that's a very personal thing, right? And so most of like the artists and stuff that I go see, I was friends with first, or I mean, I might have come across their art, but I just think that really that relationship piece can't be undersold, in the sense of people want to know who you are, right? So you got to be, it's not just here, let me show you my art, right? It's um I'm I'm Melody and this is my life and this is what I like and here's my favorite brand of chocolate and I had a hard day today. But those are the things that people are dying for connection. I think that I just cannot say it enough. And so they're going to gravitate towards those accounts or post or whatever where there's a real person that they can connect to. So I think that you have to think about that, like how do you frame your whole strategy? It's not just necessarily like what am I posting, right? So there's a couple layers to that. But I do think it's important to have a presence. I do, and I do think that there are some benefits to it. But again, it's not an instant overnight thing, and it's not one thing isn't gonna make it all happen, right?
Yeah, and the one thing that helps with your presence is collaborating with other artists and organizations. When I had my show at the Jung Center, they were always so good about collaborating. The other artist that was there, she was really good. Yeah, we collaborated with each other. I'm an alternative artist. The group that I belong to with alternative photography is really good about collaborating, supporting. So I mean that helps, but it's like they're not running in.
No, and I think that that's an unrealistic expectation, to be quite frank. I mean, yeah. But looking at those ways that, like you said, you can draw them in, or inviting them to open studios, those sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, people are busy and distracted, and all sorts of things are happening, right? And so trying to break through that noise is the challenge.
Yeah, and there's 5 buildings, and Shirley's in one, I'm in one, Liz is in one. I mean, the members are kind of spread out among some of these buildings, and each of us is trying to get just people in the building. I mean, each of our marketing groups are trying to get people in the building, and then the building marketing people collaborate with each of us. So we create content, they create content, and there's this, but it's just really right now trying to get people in the door. I mean, that's, like I said, the very base level. It's just getting them in the door to even see us has been tricky. And
yeah, and you live in Houston, which has a million events. So I used to do events, and I mean, there's never a lack of something to go to, right? And that's kind of why I wanted to highlight, like, one of the things that I've loved is seeing, like, I don't know, Barnaby's did a collection where, like, local artists, they put up all their art in the restaurant. There's a coffee shop on Montrose that does that. There's several coffee shops that do that in town. So if you're a visual artist, I highly recommend trying to seek those sorts of venues out, because you want to put your stuff where people already are, right? You don't want to have to get them to come to you. They're going to come to you once they appreciate you and know you. And, you know, I mean, there are mothers like myself that do take our children to run around the Bean Street Studios because it's fun and air conditioned sometimes. So yeah, I mean, you're always going to have kind of those random people, right? But thinking about, you know, where are sort of some creative or like faith communities? I mean, people don't think about faith communities, but a lot of times, like, faith communities like to have things on their wall, or, you know, can you collaborate with, you know, someone to do a special, like, liturgy or something? I mean, I'm not saying whatever faith it is, you know, I mean, it could be any faith. But like, just trying to think outside those boxes of, like, where can you go? Where can you take your stuff versus always wanting the people to come to you, right?
I have a friend that just bought a piece of artwork from a coffee shop.
I love that. When I go in and I see, like, you know, I haven't found any I want to buy yet, but I love the concept. So maybe if y'all put your stuff out there, then I'll want to buy it. It'll be better. All right. I just want to do a quick little recap as we are coming to the end of our time. So next slide. Just wanted to encourage you that this is a process. I don't think I've said connection too many times tonight, but if you leave with one thing, that's it. Make a personal connection. Marketing is not an instant fix. Be creative, be authentic, be innovative, be memorable, be intentional, and keep showing up. All right. That is the end of my spiel. I think there's one more slide that says thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We really appreciate you coming and giving your time.
Well, it's really my pleasure. I love brainstorming and being creative. So if you ever want to reach out, please feel free to do that. I do have a website. And also, you know, if you have a budget for marketing, for social, any of that stuff that you're interested in working with us, we do work with a lot of arts organizations. So also feel free to visit my professional site.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Y'all are awesome.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That was wonderful. I learned a lot of stuff.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that.
Good ideas of how to move forward on this marketing thing, which has always been kind of like, I don't know what to do. All right. Any final comments to Lauren? Anybody? No? Okay. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you.
Actually,
Thank you
Susan,
for
I
being patient
I
with
did
my
want to say
schedule.
something. Lauren, thank you for the presentation. You know, being a creative, like I'm a literary and visual, and so I feel really split. And marketing always feels like this other thing. And I think one of the things that you brought in and really highlighted to me is the same creativity that gets us there can also help us get it out there. So this was helpful. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a few minutes to let folks tell us what are you up to these days? What's going on in your creative worlds? Nothing? Come on now.
Margot's raised her hand.
All right. Who? Who did?
Margot.
Margot.
Yeah. Okay. I put something in the chat about the organic variety show. So we have a couple of dates for the Deluxe Theater, and we will be selling tickets not to make money, but to keep up with who's coming. So it'll be a pay what you can. If you want to pay $5, that's fine. So we're just keeping up with everyone. So yeah, and I have
Margot,
a link.
I'm plotting a field trip for that, so stay tuned.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, that I think it'll be a lot of fun. So let's see, what was I going to say? Yeah, so the updates will be on my website for a dedicated page, so that's the link right there. So hope to see you there.
Okay, I think Donna had her hand up.
I think Shirley has her hand up.
Yeah, I did. I'm just not in the best shape today. I have a little virus. Okay, I do have a show at Archway that's up right now, and have on the calendar a a trip to view it, a WIVLA field trip to view it on the last day of the month, the 31st, and it's from 11 to 12. And that's Saturday, the 31st. And
Thank you, Donna.
So that's okay.
That was an easy one to say yes to. I'm so grateful.
Who else?
Brooke has her hand up. Shirley has her hand.
Put your hand up on this thing. I don't even know how to do that. I literally don't. I'm sorry. I don't. How do you
go down to reactions on the bottom of your screen?
Yeah.
A little smiley face, and click on reactions, and it'll say raise hand.
Okay. Mine doesn't, but all right.
My hand's raised, Brooke's hand's raised, Lauren's hand is raised.
All right, I'll keep trying.
Do you see reactions down there?
Yeah. Oh, raise hand. It's at the very bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shirley.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to mention again, I think we mentioned it last month, that there are a number of us in WIVLA who belong also to Houston Area Art Tribe. Brenda Bowman, Susan Salter, Mary Belasia, Pam Swallow, and I can't think of it. I think that's it. But there are 13 in all who will be showing work at the Cloister Gallery. The opening is May 28th, and the reception is, I think, June the 26th, and it goes through July the 8th. So we'll be down at the Cloister at Christ Church Cathedral. So go down and have lunch at Treebeards. During the day, it's open from 11 to 2. That's when you can view the art. The reception will be in the evening in June. Thank you.
Brooke, did you have something?
Yes. Okay, I have the wrong glasses on, so I have no idea what you guys can see because my screen is one big blur. Anyway, I almost said something earlier about a win on Instagram, but now seems like the time to share it. During Poetry Month, I forced myself to get back into doing my art, and I posted one blackout poem a day for the first 21 days of April. And that led to me putting my work in the face of a friend. And I wasn't trying to sell or do anything, but then she had another friend tell her she needed art for her office space, and I was top of mind because I had been posting on Instagram every day. So I ended up getting 2 large commissions. I've never had anything like this before. I've had one, but I've never had to do 6 canvases large like this. And it came from, I think, posting every day on Instagram and just like getting it out there. And it was my blackout poems. It wasn't my acrylic paintings, but it put me in the top of mind of somebody that referred me. Um, so that's how Instagram worked for me lately. I wasn't expecting it, but it's true. Post, post, post. And even if it's a friend who's not buying it direct, it led to something.
Congratulations, Brooke. That's awesome. Let's see who, Gwen, you had your hand up.
Yes, I do have a book event for anyone out in Conroe on June 14th. I will be signing at the Barnes and Noble, my latest, the Premonitions Club. So if like you have book loving friends out in Conroe, I will be there. I think it's 1 to 3, just, there. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there.
Great. Lauren, did you have something you wanted to share with us?
I did. So now I have to figure out how to lower me. Okay. So I'm excited. I'm going to have a series, like a monthly series in the Swoon Memorial e-newsletter on parenting and the shenanigans that go with parenting. So I would love for y'all to check it out. I would love any feedback would be most welcome, especially from those of you who do like to do the creative nonfiction writing, or just things you'd like to see or anything. But I'm excited. It's kind of my first regular gig for a bit. So we're going to see how it goes. And I'll drop the link in the chat in case you're not familiar with them.
So Kathy, we need to sign up to come to your event, or
you can just show up, but if you it's kind of like Margot's saying, it helps us keep count, but you can just show up too, don't worry.
Okay.
It's from 4 to 6 this coming Saturday.
Okay.
Yes, can't wait.
Well, I've got something. As I mentioned, I'm represented by a gallery down in Galveston. It's called Texas Coastal Artists. It used to be called G. Lee Gallery. It's on the Strand, and I'm the featured artist there through the month of May. So if you're ever in Galveston, stop by. And I've got some work there that is very, very different from what I've been doing. So it would be worth a little trip in there.
So it's not encaustic?
It is encaustic, but it's sculpture. It's sculptural. So it's encaustic sculpture.
Right.
I forgot to say, I do have my workshop coming up on the 8th of June, and I think there's still a few spots left. So that's at Right Space, Intuitive Writing. It's my favorite workshop to do, and I'm really excited to do that. So that's on the WIVLA website. So I meant to mention that.
Yes, ma'am. And you are correct. Only a few spaces left.
Okay, anybody else before we wrap up? All hearts clear? All right. Well, then we're going to say good night. And thanks for everyone's participation tonight. It's been great. And get excited about our new gallery. It's going to be terrific.
Yes.
I'm excited to come see it.
Yeah.
I'll be there with my daughter.
It's going to be great.
All right. Good night,
Thanks,
everybody.
Lauren. Great to see
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Bye.